Hey everyone, Kevin Ross here from Innovative Nurse and your co-host at RNFM Radio. I am really excited to be a part of the Scrubs Magazine Blog Carnival for nurse authors and bloggers out there, and we come together and collaborate and promote each other. And of course, thanks to Brittany Wilson as well to help coordinate, facilitate, and really kind of keep us on track. And of course, the beginning of December here, it is my turn over at Innovative Nurse to host this round of the Scrubs Magazine Blog Carnival. And of course, what are we talking about? You probably guessed it. Technology, and really technology and nursing. Now, we had a few submissions out there, and you bloggers out there, you nurses out there did a wonderful job with these posts. I'm really loving these posts. So I at least want to be able to capture the essence of each article out there that each of you had posted on your blogs. And of course, I want to break that down a little bit for the community. All the links will be below this video and of course over at Innovative Nurse so that you can find them, get easy access to them. And of course, if you want to be a part of the Scrubs Magazine Blog Carnival, well, feel free to sign up. We'll send you a link over there as well so that you can at least reach out to be a part of that community. So of course, I wanted to start this episode off with Erica McDonald over at selfemployednurse.com. Now, of course, Erica talks about entrepreneurs looking toward passive income. So basically that income while you're sleeping and how easy that is. So you put in a little bit of work on the front end, and then, from an ebook or a CD or a webinar or whatever it is that you're putting together, and people are literally buying that while you're sleeping. Now, of course, that doesn't necessarily always happen for us entrepreneurs out there. And I know many of you are published. You have ebooks, 1, 2, 3, several, or paperback or hardback books. You actually have books out there, and that's fantastic. And Erica makes a note of the fact that we're inundated with information each and every day, and sometimes we're unable as nurses in our busy lives to be able to consume all of that media at once, i.e. an ebook or a book or something of the like. And so one of the alternatives out there is to help be a part of either you're doing it yourself or you're working in partnership when it comes to building apps. Now, as a nurse myself, we are in the field often and we are surrounded by technology. I'm sure you know I'm surrounded by technology. I'm surrounded by technology right now. But we need easy access to information, and smartphones, mobile devices, tablets are the way to go for us in our private practice. Now, app development isn't what it used to be. There are programs out there that are set up that it's almost like WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. You can almost, for basic app development, you can develop a very simple app that can provide information to us as nurses to help us bridge the gaps with patient care or whatever it is that we're doing as nurses. So don't get overwhelmed at first. If you have an idea about building an app and it's a good idea, bounce it off of a colleague or a friend or someone that you trust, then if you're not as geeky as myself, maybe someone out there is, and you can partner up with them to help you develop this app. Now, this is basic app development, simple apps. She goes into saying that there are more complex apps, i.e. mostly the games that are graphic heavy and the coding is very intricate. We're not really talking about that, but there are some apps out there that provide us the opportunity to pull up this information very easily, quickly, so that we can at least get back to addressing the needs of our clients or patients or those that we're working with. So Erica, I really like the post that you made here, and so I encourage nurses out there, if you've got an idea and you think you can put it in an app, take an opportunity to reach out to someone, maybe like myself. I'm not saying come to me, but come to someone who is maybe of clinical mindset and can have that geeky edge to it and help you develop that app. Again, this isn't a sales pitch for myself. I'm just saying someone in general like myself or the nerdy nurse. Now, I wanted to go over to Lori Brown of The Empowered Nurse. She is a previous guest, couple of times actually, twice on RNFM Radio. Now, she talks about technology in the form of social media and how that affects us as professionals. Now, she makes some valid points here because when I'm talking to people about brushing off their resumes and getting to the top of the pile. They're looking for jobs or they're looking to start a business. Think of yourself as a brand. And Lori is doing the same thing here. So what that means is we have easy access to social media, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and the like. And we tend to post almost at free will. Something pops in our head and boom, we just want to post it because in that moment we're passionate about it. And whether it's right or wrong, sometimes that information can be misconstrued. So think twice before you're posting that information because once it's out there, it can be pretty easily found if you dig hard enough. And of course, Lori makes some very key points here to certainly clean up any information that you have out there. Interesting photos that could be misinterpreted on Facebook or tweets or posts and the like. And again, think twice. Think very carefully about what it is that you're posting before you post it. We're not saying don't use social media. It's a great way to engage with each other. But just be careful about what it is that you're posting. And Lori makes a very great argument here over on her post. And quite frankly, she's also an attorney. So I would definitely take her advice for what it is, and it's good. Now, of course, Joyce Harrell. Joyce, we've known her. She's also a previous guest over here on the RNFM radio show, and I like what she had to say as well. She's coming from a clinical perspective here. And Joyce is talking about the good old days when nurses were actually documenting by exception and documenting on paper. So there's check boxes, and if everything is within normal limits, you're basically checking the box that everything is within normal limits. And if there are exceptions, like blood pressure is a little without a parameters, or someone is febrile, or whatever the like, then you document that. Now, she also makes a valid point, and I am certainly a victim of this, or actually people on the other end would be a victim of it. I have not so great handwriting, especially when I'm documenting patient charts. Now, I document digitally or verbally into an EMR, but there are times when I have to write things down, and sometimes it's terrible. Like, I'll have to look at something twice to figure out what it is that I actually wrote. That's not good. So there are some advantages to documenting digitally so that we can see what's going on, so that labs and orders and the like are not misinterpreted. Now, of course, she goes into saying, too, about the appropriateness of the technology. And this also feeds off of what Lori was talking about when it comes to the appropriateness of when to use the technology and how to use the technology. You don't want to be hanging out in a patient's room on Facebook or social media. That's really inappropriate. You don't want to be taking personal phone calls. I have my cell phone with me at all times so that my patients have access to me. That's the setting that I'm in. But I can't necessarily take personal calls when I'm with my patients or my clients. And so you really do need to figure out what's appropriate and when. Facebook's not. I'm not going to be on Facebook or social media when I'm working with a client, unless it's very client specific. When I'm doing, some of my other businesses and it comes to social media and marketing and website development, I can, of course, use my technology at that point because I do cross-pollinate into other areas or other businesses that I own. So at that point, it might be more appropriate. But when I'm working with my patients, it's not. So don't take those personal phone calls in a patient's room, and certainly don't be hanging out on social media when you're with a patient. And of course, Joyce, I really like the new website design, by the way. I wanted to compliment you on that. And of course, kudos on a good post. Now, of course, why do we use social media? Why do we use all of this technology? My fellow co-host, Keith Carlson, always has words of wisdom coming out of his mouth and, of course, his fingertips when he's typing these posts out. And we use social media as nurses, as individuals, non-nurses, to create engagement, to build community, to have conversations, and to collaborate. Now, Keith and I are a perfect example of how you can utilize social media and really make it advantageous for you personally and professionally. He and I actually met via social media on Twitter and a few email exchanges, and here we are. We have a radio show for nurses. We have a company together, and we had all of that aligned in ink, everything legal and professional, even before we met in person. So I'm just overwhelmed by the opportunities that are out there for nurses, and I'm sure you are aware. And if you're not, I hope you will be soon, to connect on social media, connect with other nurses, other healthcare providers out there that are like-minded, and you can really find yourself growing professionally as a nurse with that engagement. Of course, be careful what you're posting, like we've been saying here, but it is a way for us to really connect each other, to build the platform of nursing, the voice of nursing. And that's what RNFM radio does. And of course, that's what many of these other social media platforms do as well. We want to elevate the profession. We want to connect you. We want to cross-pollinate and collaborate. We mean it. And of course, we say it all the time to nauseam, but we do mean it. And we think that social media is certainly the key to help get us there, to bridge some of these gaps. So anyway, Keith, as always, a great post out there, and we'll continue to tweet, chat, and post on Google Plus and Twitter and Facebook, and of course share your stories like we are here in the blog, Scrubs Magazine Blog Carnival. Now, I wanted to go quickly back to apps and how I utilize them. So we have access to our servers via apps, and we also have access to information such as diagnoses and pills. And of course, I wanted to talk about Sarah Wingart's over at her post over at travelnursingblogs.com. And one of her apps, she talks about the pill identifier. Now, some of these apps actually have this baked in where you can look at a pill, put in the numbers that are on the pill, and it'll bring it up. Well, this is what she's talking about. As a travel nurse, this might be something whether you're traveling and doing home care or whether you're traveling in a maybe not so familiar setting, in a clinical setting. Now, of course, I'm sure you have Pyxis and many resources around. But again, if you're out there and you don't know exactly who your resources are, some of these applications can really help you in your practice. And Sarah makes that known. Pill identifier, that was definitely one where, let's say that you are working in the field with a patient and they have those med reminder boxes, you know, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday thing. Ooh, kind of drives me nuts, quite frankly. You're looking in that pill box and you don't even know what's in there, and the patient can't necessarily identify everything that's in there. Maybe someone else set it up for them. There aren't any pill bottles around. So at least with that pill identifier application, you can take an opportunity to really advocate for your patient and look those pills up, write everything down for them, and say, okay, here's what I've found based on this pill identifier. The pictures and the codes and everything is cross-referenced. Now, of course, there are also, when it comes to travel nursing, there are applications out there that can really help connect you with the area at hand. Because if you're in a foreign community, I mean, when I say foreign, not overseas, well, you could be overseas, but even locally here in the United States, you need to know what the great restaurants are, or the hotels, or maybe, of course, your travel agency is setting all of the living arrangements up. But what about those opportunities that you are looking toward having, you know, blowing off a little steam and connecting with some friends, and you want to go out to dinner or lunch or the like, and you need to know where the restaurants are located and what are the reviews? And of course, applications like Yelp and Google reviews and things like that, and even Foursquare, people can really connect you with what they like, what they think is good, and what is good about it. So I say travel nurses, you guys and gals out there probably utilize apps quite a bit, especially the non-clinical ones, so that you can actually connect into the community. Now, speaking of connection, Sean Dent, of course, over at scrubsmag.com, and of course, he's been on the show on one of our roundtables for Scrubs Magazine, and I wanted to take this opportunity to give Sean props here, and of course, ask the question that Sean is asking the community, and that is, all of this technology, we're inundated with this technology. There are nurses out there who are very well versed in technology. They're very well versed in the clinical setting. And sometimes that marriage doesn't really work well when it comes to technology and, of course, our clinical experience. And we seem to be behind all of these computers all the time, and we're typing here and we're typing here and we're tapping this. And when do we actually get a chance to talk to our patients? Well, Sean, you make a great point here. And I wanted to ask the community, what are your thoughts? Feel free to leave questions or comments on the blog post or within this video about your thoughts when it comes to technology and how it's either bridging gaps for our patients, or is it creating more of a gap with our patients because we're spending so much time on the technology that yet we're not even conversing with our patients, the human beings, the one-on-one, the touch that we always talk about with our patients that they so desperately need. So Sean, great post out there. And I think this is a good segue when it comes to our own Brittany Wilson of The Nerdy Nurse and how all of this is supposed to come together for us. Now, of course, she wrote a book, The Nerdy Nurse's Guide to Technology. Now, we had Brittany on recently on RNFM Radio, and that was, what a show. Now, of course, you know I was excited about it. I was excited about it because I love talking about technology, not just because I'm a nerd, a geek, or a tech enthusiast, but I'm also an enthusiast to help all of us out there to really embrace technology. And Brittany really breaks this down for us quite simply in her book, The Nerdy Nurse's Guide to Technology. And of course, she's often talking about how we can be a little bit more nerdy. Now, she's got a post over at thenursejournal.org, and of course, again, all the links will be below, and then over at her own, thenerdynurse.com. And Brittany, she is an advocate for nurses and technology both. And she wants to help bridge those gaps and those frustrations and the entry point that it seems like it's such a steep hill to climb to really embrace the technology, to really utilize it properly. And Brittany, I think, does a wonderful job of capturing the essence of our frustrations, what the administration needs from a corporate standpoint and from a regulations and rules standpoint, because I'm aware of that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, when it comes to the rules and regs in my own private practice. And I'm always having to update my teams to let them know what the latest is and what the requirements are, but put it in a way so that it's not so foreign, so it's not such a disconnect, but it actually helps us really re-engage on another level with our patients. And again, by the fact that I can document digitally, even when I leave my patient's home or I'm sitting out in a driveway or whatever that is, and I can actually document on this phone either verbally or type a few notes in there just as placeholders until I get back and really put all that stuff into the EMR. Again, Brittany is she's a nurse informaticist. So she helps bridge the gaps between the clinical person at the bedside or in these clinical settings. And of course, then there's IT and the real heavy nerds and geeks out there. And all due respect, I use that term with all due respect. I consider myself one who are coding all of these databases so that we can enter all of this patient data. And she's trying to help bridge those gaps between the clinical side and of course the technical side to really make it a fluid process. And quite frankly, that's really what it should be. It should be, technology should be fluid. It should be helping us connect, to collaborate, to have conversations, not just on a superficial level, but in a really deep understanding of each other and what we're doing, who we are, who our brands are, and who we represent, what we represent. And I really feel like I am more connected with nurses and the profession because of social media. And of course, I have to give props out there to Andrew Lopez of Nurse Friendly and NurseUp.com. He's done a wonderful job at promoting and advocating for all of us, as well as the Nerdy Nurse and all of these other bloggers, writers, entrepreneurs, and just awesome sauce nurses, these innovators and leaders that are going against the grain, that are blazing the trails for us. And I just love being a part of this community, and I know you will too. So if you're a blogger, an author, whether you're just starting out or whether you're seasoned, get on board here at the Scrubs Magazine Blog Carnival. Thanks everyone for watching. I know this is a lengthy video, but I really wanted to capture the essence of all of these posts. And until next time, we really appreciate all the shares, the likes, and the feedback, and the questions and comments. So continue to engage on social media and with your technology. Don't get too frustrated. Try to bring it down to a level where you have some understanding, and certainly feel free to, or I would say, reach out to your resources, find them, access them, and have them help you really re-engage with what you're doing as a clinician and, of course, what you're doing personally. So be careful out there, be safe, and use your technology in a healthy way. And we look forward to seeing you around out there in the interwebs. Thanks for watching.